Hello everybody! March 20th will be the official first day of spring in the Northern Hemisphere, but we're already getting some spring weather. For a lot of us, that means we're taking our dogs outside more, so here are some tips on how to get the most out of our walks. One thing I do when I'm walking my dog is I make it very clear when she's expected to be on a loose leash, when she's supposed to be at heel, and when she has free rein to do whatever she wants. This way, I can keep the times she's supposed to be at heel short enough for her to succeed, and I'm the one that gives her a release word to sniff, instead of my dog deciding when she can break off to smell something. In this video, you can see that my dog and I are going back and forth between loose leash walking, being at heel, and her being allowed to sniff. I ask her to do something for me before I give her the release word that means she can sniff and walk at her own pace. The word heel has become muddled in common speech. What it means is that the dog's front paws are lined up with the heel of the human handler, and the dog's body is at a 90-degree angle to the handlers. For most dogs, staying at heel is very difficult to keep up when walking on the street or on trails, and it's not very enjoyable. It also cuts out on the enrichment the dog could be getting while on the walk. When I was a younger trainer, I spent a lot of time working on heel work and had very high expectations of my dog. I even expected her to stay at heel while we jogged or ran together. Then I started learning about the benefits of enrichment and sniffing as a part of that. For our dogs, smell is an unavoidably rich sense. We humans are missing huge amounts of information they pick up constantly, and we expect them to ignore this information. Scent enrichment is so important for dogs and cats, and any animal with a better sense of smell than a human's. It's widely used in shelters and other settings where animals are housed in captivity to help keep them mentally and behaviorally healthy. For our dogs living in our homes, this enrichment's easy to give simply by going on a walk where they get to choose what direction to go and sniff for as long as they want. A lot of trainers affectionately refer to a walk like that as a sniffari. There has even been a study done which monitored the pulse rate of dogs when they were sniffing and found that pulse rates drop when dogs are deep sniffing or sniffing more deeply and more quickly. This makes a lot of sense. Sniffing is a way that many dogs calm themselves down in stressful situations. For example, you introduce your dog to another dog who's too rambunctious or rude, and your dog suddenly becomes very interested in smelling the grass you've been standing on for the past 10 minutes. Fearful or anxious dogs generally tend to sniff longer and deeper than more relaxed dogs. In the same study, the experimenters found that dogs who are walking on 15-foot leashes sniffed 280% more than dogs walked on a 4.5-foot leash. For example, a long-leash dog would sniff 103 seconds, while a short-leash dog would sniff a mere 37 seconds. Dogs that were completely off-leash sniffed 330% more than dogs on the short leash. For example, the off-leash dog would sniff 119 seconds to the short-leash dog's 37 seconds. To get the stress-relieving benefits of walks, many of us would prefer to walk our dogs off-leash if we could. Unfortunately, this is not safe in many areas and is illegal in many parks and urban environments. When you can't get out on walks together, you can offer some sniff enrichment by starting your dog on canine nose work or using a snuffle mat or scatter feeding to feed them. When you're on walks, using a long line can be a great help, if it's allowed in the areas you're walking. I like to use biothane, which is basically a plastic-coated leash, because it's easy to wipe off, especially when the trail is muddy. I recommend you research the leash length requirements for the parks you're planning on taking your dog to. If you're going to buy a long line, you want at least 15 feet and no more than 30. Longer than 30 feet, and it often becomes a tangled mess, and is more likely to snap if your dog suddenly runs quickly to the end of the line. When I'm talking about a long line, I'm specifically recommending non-retractable long lines. I don't recommend retractable leashes for most situations. We'll talk more about long line recommendations in a later video. When I don't have a long line or we are required to be on a short leash, I play a game with my dog on walks. When she's supposed to walk on a loose leash, she stays close enough to me that the leash is in a U or J shape with slack, not straight and taut. When I give her a release word to sniff, I just try to follow my dog in the same way I expect her to follow me, staying close enough to her that there is slack in the leash, unless some safety issue comes up. We just keep switching roles as we walk. The takeaway is, go ahead and let your dogs enjoy those spring scents and other dogs' messages on the ground. For anybody who would judge you for letting your dog sniff, who cares what they think? Your dog is going to be healthier and happier. And if I see you on trail, I'll be proud to see you giving your dog the sniff time he or she needs. Have fun, enjoy the sun this spring season, and stay safe.